Ever since Nigeria got its independence from Britain, the founding fathers of this country has had plans and prospects for the betterment of its citizens, but with just little success recorded. In the housing sector, the private partnership inclusion in it has made it easy for bridging the gap in housing deficit. You're watching Inside the Real Estate. My name is Chris Jacobs. Let's take a short break. We'll be back in a moment so that you meet my guest.
Get credible and authentic housing news at your fingertips by downloading the Housing TV mobile app. You can also join the African International Housing Show live from across the globe through the Housing TV mobile app. The mobile app features live streaming and trending housing news. You can locate the AIHS venue via the app, network with AIHS seasoned speakers, and live chat with exhibitors. You can also order house or building materials at AIHS via this app. Download the Housing TV mobile app now from the App Store and Google Play Store. And don't forget to click on the notification button. Available for both iOS and Android users. Housing TV is also on Star Times, channel 149 decoder.
All right, glad to know you're there. If you just joined us, you're watching Inside the Real Estate on Housing TV Africa. And I've been joined by Town Planner Barnabas Atiyaye. He is a Town and Regional Planner at Envicon's Team Consultant. And he joins me now to further this conversation. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning.
Morning. Now, Nigeria is 65 years, no doubt about it. But how would you describe the journey so far in the last 65 years in regard to housing?
Thank you for this question. It has been a period of extreme challenges from day one. When Nigeria got independence in 1960, the population in this country was really, really small. But all that we know again is that 70% were rural and 30% were urban. And so when we got our independence in 1960, the government then came up with a lot of other projects that they want to really accomplish. And of course, we had the first National Development Plan, which was from 1962 to 1968. And in terms of housing, it was primarily planned for public housing in 1962 to 1968. And it was targeting staff, civil servants particularly. Then that was it. And when the government came up at that time, they had a proposal to actually build 61,000 houses, basically by the federal government. And as time continues, there was a kind of great hiccups, and they couldn't really perform very well. At the end of the day, the delivery was very, very small. They couldn't achieve that. And that actually led because of they just were able to produce possibly less than 2,000 houses at that time, and less than 1% of what they targeted, really. But the truth is that the fact that there was consciousness of providing houses at that time, that gave a greater hope for the Nigerian populace. Okay. Now, the challenge then was political instability, because at that time, the Civil War also came in.
That's right.
And that truncated virtually everything. Then we have the second National Development Plan, which came up with the federal low-cost houses. Now, that was between 1970 and 1972, but it was launched in 1972. In this one, it was actually coming up with low-cost houses. And federal government started establishing low-cost houses for low-income groups primarily. Yes. And the government then had, again, a budget of 54,000 to be produced. And of course, at the end of the day, we had not too much success in that. Why? Because there has been a kind of challenges that had to do with reconstruction and so many other things, and government was unable to come up with anything substantive. But they came up with what we call the Federal Housing Authority, which was established actually in 1973 to assist government realize some of these particular projects. But it was a very slow start at that time, because the capacity to even run with the Federal Housing Authority was becoming very, very challenging. There was poor coordination between the federal, the states, and even the housing authorities. Then there was lack of capacity. So that was becoming another problem. Then we had the third actually, National Development Plan, 1975 to 1980. Building upon that one, and there was this mass program for housing again to reduce the urban challenges. And that actually continued. They came up with the proposal to build 202,000, but only succeeded in getting 28,000, which was delivered. And what is that percentage? About 14% or thereabout.
14%.
Now,
let me hold you a little bit.
Yeah.
With the fantastic plan successive governments have had, to broadening and bridging the deficit, the gap in terms of housing deficit, will you say that population growth was actually a factor that truncated the success of these proposed plan by the federal government? Because you outlined earlier that in 1973 they tried, but yet they don't meet the number that is proposed for. While in 1980, talking about the Shehu Shagari housing estate that cut across almost all the state of the federation, is it the population plan or the capacity as at that time to meet to this challenge?
It's a combination of all.
Okay.
One, actually the population growth was becoming massive, trying to come up over and above what government can contain at that. So the urban centers were growing, right? And so the population coming to urban areas is becoming much more than what the government can actually accommodate. That is one. But again, you find out that we have come to realize that even as government was going on, from 1967, when there was this civil war, so many things actually started getting disrupted. Because after that, there has been changes in government, and because we have come to realize that anytime there's a change in government, policies that had already been established hardly continues.
That's right.
So there is an interruption. So these interruptions, coupled with the fact that the population is increasing, coupled with the fact that there was very minimal, financial contributions. Again, corruption started rearing itself as we are growing. These are the factors that really, complicated the delivery of houses in this country, even at that initial stage. So successive change of government has had a very tremendous effect on the program of housing delivery in this country. And people have come into the urban areas, but because they cannot easily have access to houses, they started building their own, which has developed into
based on
slums.
their own specifications,
Yes.
instead of going by government
Precisely.
specifications.
And that gave rise to so many slums. That's why you discover that in most of our urban areas today, 70% is slum formation, because government has not been able to go ahead and plan before this influx of people into the country.
Yes, but before now, there has not been the involvement of private sector into the housing scheme.
Yeah, before now, it was basically more like government project. Right? It was at a point when government now came to realize, they now brought in the issue of the PPP.
That's right.
Now, bringing the PPP into operation, so many things again were slightly a bit difficult. Why? Because anyone that is into PPP is doing it for profit.
That's correct.
And there are so many challenges that these private developers have encountered. Access to land, how easy is it? Then the issue of the cost of materials, how easy is it? These are challenges.
That's right.
For the private sectors. Now, even if there is an agreement between government and the private developer, you discover that certain things happen. What is written and signed is hardly being followed, because bureaucracy of government tends to really slow down so many things. Now, if we want to make it affordable, the truth is that government ideally should come up with what we may call site and services.
Site and services.
Yes, so that these private developers will just concentrate on construction. And when that happens, government has a way of, balancing or regulating the prices to make it affordable to the ordinary person.
That's right.
But if government has not done that one, all that the private person does is to build. Anyone that can afford, let him come, because they are interested in making their money.
Profit. I like it the way you said private sectors are interested in making profit. Now, how do you challenge, the use of substandard materials? Because earlier you mentioned the fact that building materials now have skyrocketed, and as a matter of fact, everybody can just get whatever materials they want, and construct building. Little wonder we see building collapse in some part of the country. So with the influx or inclusion of private sector into the housing scheme, how do you checkmate, the use of, substandard materials?
This is a very good question. I think there has been lack of follow-up by some government agencies. We have Standard Organization of Nigeria.
That's correct.
That are expected to now cross-check and check that everything that is being used is standard. Whether in terms of the road, whether in terms of cement, whether in terms of the wood, whatever it is that is being used, should be cross-checked by the Standard Organization of Nigeria. Let them go to where these things are being sold, and then let them check whether this is the right quality that is expected. Anytime they are able to find that a particular, threshold is not met, then that particular product should be suspended completely. But the other dimension again is coming back to the reality of our times. I have seen that researchers are coming up with new models of local building materials.
Okay.
Now, the research departments should be able to now ascertain that yes, we can now use clay or sand or whatever locally, but there should be a prescribed way of doing it so that we can achieve some of these things without really spending much more. We don't need to import our building materials. We have them locally here.
Right.
And all that we need to do possibly is to really get them standardized in such a way that it will be affordable for everyone. So these are the challenges. So building materials are really very expensive now amidst the crisis we are having economically, and then the kind of the dollar naira challenge that we have. So these are facts that must be addressed one by one in order to give the developers some kind of a breathing space and making delivery also to the urban poor.
That's right. I understand that, of course, the developers, construct houses, that is not just affordable to the common man. But instead of constructing houses that cut across different status and strata of life, it becomes pretty difficult because they really want to make profit. What role is the government playing, more especially the FCT, under the superintendence of Nelson Wike as the FCT minister? What role, is the FCT playing or has played to see that it bridged the gap in housing deficit to be affordable by those regardless of their status?
Well, we have seen Wike, Honorable or the Minister Wike, as a very proactive man in terms of construction, in terms of projects. And I've seen him opening up so many areas that hitherto were not very accessible. Now, I believe that the program of FCT has been mass housing. Now, if government within this context will be able to have site and services available, then developers can key into such and then build houses that can now be affordable. Now, if it is becoming extremely difficult to break even, they can still sell to make some profit, but my suggestion is that some 20 to 25, possibly even 30% of whatever a developer comes up with should be designated as affordable housing.
That's correct.
Now, which is affordable to people that can and should really get, Because in most cases, even affordable houses as built by government are not affordable in the first place because they cannot afford it. But that is just by the side. What I'm trying to say in essence is that a developer that builds a unit, about 20 to 30% of those units should be earmarked for the low income, which is low. Then whatever deficit he has gotten there should be put on the other 70%, where he can now make his own profit. But the challenge is, even when that is being done, people that have access to that are still the rich. They will buy it again and then rent out
for their profit making.
For the people that ought to have gotten it in the first place. So these are, I think, the things that this government can do in order to make houses affordable to the middle and the low income in the FCT and of course the entire country.
Interesting. Now, Nigeria has several housing schemes. Talk to me about the National Housing Fund that is managed by the Federal Mortgage Bank, in helping bridge the housing deficit gap.
You see, this is a very good initiative, extremely good. But we have come to now realize that access to that has been a challenge to so many people. And that's why it's been, I think, promoted that can cooperative groups be formed? If people form themselves in cooperative groups, then they can now have easier access to such funds. And even the civil servants that may take advantage of that will benefit from it, substantially. But it's just coming up. Access to such funds becomes a bit challenging. But I know that they are working hard to make it a bit liberal so that people can have access to it. Now, if you have access to fund, and there is a challenge of you getting even land, then it becomes a problem.
It becomes a problem.
Yeah, so access to land is one thing that must be really, really, looked at carefully. Can the low income really have access to land that is encumbered? Can such people actually have lands that they don't need to spend much more? Can government also reduce the cost of titling of lands? Right? That was what El-Rufai did in Kaduna when he went to the local settlements. Say, come, we are giving you a discount of 50%. We want to give you title to your lands. So if such registration is being brought down, people can have access to land, and then whenever they are able to get funding, they can build their houses.
They can build their houses, indeed. Now, of course, we've seen where the federal government has come up with housing schemes, like the one you outlined earlier, Shehu Shagari, locust housing that cut across various states of the federation. But how does that cascade to the state level, so that because you'll bear with me that greater majority of civil servants do not have houses of their own even after retirement. So how can the state government in the state level also come up with such kind of housing scheme that would be beneficial to its teeming civil servant who are even at the verge of retirement?
Now let me just put it this way. The Land Use Decree of 1978 has given greater powers to the state government to control lands. That to us is an advantage. That means there is no governor that will say that he doesn't have access to land. It's in their purview. Now, so it is therefore mandatory for governments at the state level to make land accessible to their citizens.
That's right.
That's one. Secondly, it is important that we realize that just bare land does not make sense. There must be planning. So our settlement should be planned. Physical development plans, sometimes they call master plans, so that we can now know, government can know where should the citizens be residing, what other activities can take place in whatever part of that city. If a town is operating without a master plan, you are just talking about a slum town, because there will be no orderliness. Now, at that point, when that has been established, Then you now come up with what we call again site and services. Unfortunately, sir, even when the federal government wants to undertake housing developments in states, just like it happened during Shagari,
That's right.
because of party differences, such lands could be given, but very far from where people can stay. And that has made a particular project completely a failure, because people that wanted to cannot stay there because of the distance away from activity area. That is one challenge. So inability to integrate planning and to the growth of a city becomes a challenge to very many people. And the other thing that I think can help in increasing the housing stock is for governments to attack slums frontally. Which means,
how do you mean?
by that I mean there should be urban renewal or slum upgrading.
Okay.
Now, whenever we are able to attack slum settlements and upgrade it, and then give titles to people that are living in such slums, let me tell you the miracle that will happen. People will now start building the type of houses that ought to be. It will cease to be a slum.
As long as they are
As
given,
long as you have made infrastructure and you have given them title to their lands. Everyone will not, people are living there because they are not too sure whether they will be sustainable. Right. Government can come one day and say they are going to, demolish the entire settlement.
So those living in a slum, we just build whatever house.
Yes, because they are
without
temporary.
specifications.
Precisely. So, but the time there is slum upgrading or urban renewal, you have created enough roads and other services, and then you have gone a step further to give them titles to such places where they live. You will be amazed. It will drastically reduce the deficit in houses in this country.
And now there is this law that the land generally belongs to the government, and we have seen expanse of land, arable land that is owned by either one person or a family, and yet this land has not been revoked. After some years, I know that the government has the power to revoke a land and, if possible, convert the land to an estate for the affordability of a greater teeming majority of Nigerians.
Yes.
Now, how do we go about it? What is the way forward in this regard? I will allow you to catch your breath. We will take a short break. When we return, I'll need you to further the conversation in this regard.
Thank you.
All right. You're watching Inside the Real Estate. We'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on this talking point. Join us again.
Hello, everyone. My name is Festus Adebayo, and I'm the founder, convener of the Africa's largest housing event in Africa, Africa International Housing Show. I want to invite you to our Medio Business Summit, which will start from October 6th to 10, 2025. It will hold in the city of Enugu at the Hamadio Event Center. I consider it necessary to invite you because as we enter into 2026, the enforcement of tax reforms will start. Every managing director must learn new ways to survive the present economy. And on that note, I consider it necessary to be at the event, and I also see it as very important for me to invite you. Join me as I be attending Hamadio Business Summit 2025 from October 6th to 10th of October 2025. It's a place you must be. See you there.
All right, you're welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Inside the Real Estate. And of course, I have been speaking with town planner Barnabas Atiyaye. He is a town and regional planner at Envicon's Team Consultant. Now, before the break, I asked you this critical question, that the land belongs to the government. and the government has the power to revoke a land that has not been developed. That means the land has been, in its fallow. It has not been developed. Neither has any building been erected on that. How do we go about it to correcting the irregularities where you see someone, because he is a multi-billionaire, buys an expanse of land, never care to develop it, and yet the state is in need of expanse of land to bring development for houses, for the affordability of the people?
Thank you. Well, overriding public interest is always there. But government also has a responsibility. If there's a land, as we even bought it from government and you're allocated by the government, and that government has not produced any infrastructure, it is not incumbent on government to come and stop, revoke it. Because the provision of the infrastructure gives government the right to monitor whether you have developed it or not. Now, if there is no development there in terms of infrastructure, then government cannot force you to go and develop that place. Government cannot force you.
So there has to be the presence of government.
The presence of government.
Yes.
And that's why I was saying that any city that is developing, there must be a physical development plan for that city. So the government can go by what it has, by what has been designed and legislated for. If it has been legislated for, then government now can take that simple interest and say, okay, I have given you this land, and the purpose clause is industrial, the purpose clause is commercial, the purpose clause is residential. Why have you? And that's why it's always been given. In 2 years, you must develop.
You must develop.
But if in 2 years, government has not provided the infrastructure, no road, no water, no light, then government has no right to come and stop or force you to go and develop it.
All right. Sometimes, of course, you cannot completely overrule human factors. You talked about, industrial layout. You talk about residence layout. Of course, there are places that is designated for residency, while places designated for industrial layout. But unfortunately today, you see persons who are supposed to build houses that is designated for just residency, building houses in an industrial layout. Vice versa. You could also see where it's designated for just, residency. You see companies coming to build houses in a densely populated area, or company or industry rather, in a densely populated area. Where I come from, there is a filling station that is built, in a densely populated area. And sometimes this is occasioned by the status of the person, because you cannot question him. He's a bourgeoisie. He has the money. He occupies a very, he's at the apex of his life. So how do we correct these irregularities where some persons feel as if they are stronger than the institution of the law?
You have brought a very, very critical matter really here, and there are so many perspectives to it.
That's right.
One is the fact that there are some people that don't even want to obey the law because they have discovered that as far as this country is concerned, you can do what you want and get free, without being questioned. That's one. Two, all master plans are supposed to be reviewed after some time, 5 years or 10 years, depending upon. Now, when such are being, reviewed, the master plan is being taken, and then we now look at the economic activity and so many other changes, technological activities that is emerging. Does it comply with what we have on our master plans? The answer may be yes, the answer may be no. If the answer is no, then there will be a kind of a rejig of the master plan to change some of the land uses to conform with the current situations. But master plans are hardly being obeyed, even by the government. And then, for that reason, it becomes a bit tough to really regulate anything. That's one. Two, we have seen a situation where, even when approved, by the time you want to change your land use, you are supposed to apply for a change of use. A lot of people don't even do that.
Do they even know that they can't have a need to change the land use?
Some may be cautioned at the beginning when they are about to. Please don't do this. Then other factor comes in, corruption.
Corruption.
Yes. Some compromise. some of the public servants compromise and they allow the developer to continue with what he intends to do.
And perhaps this is what has occasioned some of the lapses we see in the building sector, where the government officials compromise and sometimes even companies or individuals compromise, thereby circumventing the original plan.
Yeah. For instance, if you go to several other streets, whether here in Abuja, Aminikano Crescent, or you go to Gwarimpa, that one, that the first, street there, all the houses that ought to have been residential are now turning into commercial. Reason is simple. At the time it was planned, they thought that having just a unit of commercial areas, right, within the bigger estate will suffice. But time has changed. Economic activities has changed. And so a review could have been made so that we can now know that along some of these routes, we can have mixed-use development. Yeah. Incidentally, that has not been done. And one person has done it, he has succeeded. Of course, the second person will go ahead and do the same thing. The third person, if he doesn't have the money to change it, will sell for somebody that can come and do the same thing. That's what has been obtaining over the years we have seen. Unfortunately, it's creating greater challenges because traffic becomes a challenge.
That's right.
Parking becomes a challenge. Safety is another challenge. Aesthetics is not. So it is actually a mixture of so many things that people wouldn't love to be even in such environment any longer.
Indeed. Now, we are in the raining season, and of course, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency has always warned that perhaps there could be flooding. And a lot of people will tell you that the houses they built was actually they were issued C of O, to build on where they built. But unfortunately, unknown to them, or maybe it was a deliberate act, they might have built on waterways. And also, secondly, the buildings, of course, as a matter of fact, like in Abuja here, the example you gave earlier, there are these pipe reticulations, but because of this selfish interest or ignorance or a deliberate assertion of one's, capability in the society, builds the house randomly, either builds on waterways or builds obstructing the water reticulation pipe. How do we correct this? Because I feel this is a very big challenge and it's critical.
The truth about it is that it's a very challenging situation. And it is coming from three different perspectives for me.
Okay.
We have the formal developers. After being given a piece of land, because they are very close to a river, there's always a kind of, setback.
Yes.
Now, they want to get more plots. And they have therefore gone ahead to increase their sizes of plots or land to incorporate part of the setbacks, and build houses there. And that is why you discover that when there is challenge of flooding, such areas that ought to have been part of a setback are being consumed.
And nobody asks questions as at then when they are selling this land that are supposed to be setback.
Now, that is where another challenge comes up. Professional judgment must have been given at the initial stage. But because of interest again and compromise, probably it was overlooked and then signed that you can go ahead and develop, not knowing that it will have consequence. The second one is when people are desperate to get houses and there are these setbacks that has been left without being developed, people find it as a place they can actually build their own temporary houses.
That's right.
And when they stay there for a year and 2 years, they have not seen any challenge. More people will be coming. And that would be another dense population. Right? And by the time water does not miss its road
at all.
It comes. It does not have respect, whether you are a poor man or a rich man. It will just carry you, and that's what we've been having over the years.
Yeah.
Thirdly, in a situation where roads have been made, drainages have been created, channels of drainage might have been done. Carelessness of inhabitants by just coming to dump anyhow, blocking routes of such flow
Of water.
has always resulted to unimaginable, consequence.
But it is one thing for the exhibition of the carelessness of the people, and it's another thing for the enforcement, by the government. In this regard, if you tend to juxtapose attitudinal disposition, both will say have a question to answer.
That was what I said before.
Yes.
That in planning, we always have a safety zone, which we call setbacks.
Yes.
And when that is adhered to, and then the flow of the channel of water is opened, there will be nothing. But when the developer wants to get more land, and he has now come to people that ought to have stopped him, and they say, okay, you can continue. That's compromise in the first place.
Indeed.
Right?
Yes.
Because of what I may call the developer's desire to make more money at the expense of people's safety. So corruption is really a very, very serious matter. Now, if we come to the point of discipline, you discover that there are other two factors. One, do we have adequate manpower to really create like a surveillance over these communities?
That's right.
Do we have the appropriate machinery that they can use to really demolish or stop them from the start? And that's why people take advantage, because they know that the staff are very few. Within a period of a holiday break, of 3-4 days, some people can start from foundation to roof.
Yes, because they have the money on ground.
Yes, and they are afraid of the government to come and stop them. So they will not even wait for you to get any permission. They will just develop it. When you come the following day, say it has already been developed. And so it becomes another crisis. That's why some people ask, where was the government when this particular project or this building was being erected?
Yes. And I feel in this regard, the government is not fair to the people who might have started the building of an illegal structure, because they should have stopped the person even before he erected the building to the apex of where it is.
The people that are doing it deliberately, not out of lack of knowledge. And so they deserve the punishment.
Okay.
Yes, they deserve the punishment. If it is done out of ignorance, it's a different thing. Right? But I want to tell you that most of the people that are developing houses in such areas, very good houses, right, are aware that this is what they should have done. But they thought that they can eat their cake and have it
again. But sometimes you will hear the people say, oh, they have their original CFO. Why should the government demolish their houses? Now, this is another sensitive part of it. How can one tell that this CFO that is issued to you is original, is genuine, and is not a counterfeit? So that at the end of the day, you don't erect your building, spend money on building your house, and the government comes to demolish it.
That's why it is always good, before you buy anything, do due diligence. Okay. The fake papers are all over. And you'll just be a fool to go just because you have been given. You just pay money and buy. Go and verify. Go and undertake due diligence. Go to lands and edges to really see, are these papers right? Are they correct? What's the purpose clause? Sometimes you have bought it, it is really, for instance, religious purpose or for school. But you are buying it because you wanted to actually make it an estate. Now, the moment you start building that is not in accordance with what is intended for, government has the right to stop you as well.
Okay.
And if you continue, they can demolish it. And that's why we are talking about the issue of restoration of the master plan. Have you built it according to what it was stated in the master plan? If it is yes, there is a tick.
That's right.
If it is a no, why did you change the land use? I applied for it and they gave me the permission. Good. No, I didn't. I just changed it because I think it's not necessary to go. Then it can be demolished.
Yes. Another issue, of course, that is a challenge, and this is predominantly in most northern parts of the country, where village heads are known as meangwa. They sell land indiscriminately to people, and people build randomly, and as such, obstructing the original road network of those communities. And sometimes, it takes a longer time for government to come develop these areas. So when the people see that the land is fallow and nobody is erecting anything there, you could see that the village heads begin to sell land to the people in the north. Like I said, they call them meangwa. And at the end of it, you see that they obstruct the original road network of these communities.
You are talking about obstructing road network only in a place where it is planned. Right? In a place where it is planned. That's one. Two, you are also talking within the context of possibly the FCT basically.
Okay.
Now, as we said, government has the right over land and they can allocate it anytime. If you have made any development and they want to have that place, they now pay you compensation. If the land is not developed, they will come and assess the economic trees and other things that are of value.
Yeah.
And then they will pay you before they will take it over from you. They have come to realize, the Mayangwa you're talking about, that I have 1 hectare and I have 100 trees, economic trees. And this 100 economic trees, for instance, government will come and value it, let's just assume, is 10,000. That will amount to how many thousands?
Let's say 100,000.
Well, let's say 100,000.
Yeah.
Somebody has come. He needs that particular land, 1 hectare, from you as my angwa, and he's ready to give you 1 million. They will normally go for the 1 million.
Of course.
Because what government will give them is just 100,000. So if there is a competition, my angwa wants to get money. What government gives him is by far inadequate. It does not tally with the market value. So that is one of the major challenges. Even in the FCT, that's what is being, experienced. The Mayangwas, who are the indigenous, will now go ahead selling plots of land at a higher value than what government will give them as compensation.
But do they have the right to sell plot of land?
The issue of right within the FCT, they don't. But they have right in other states.
Okay.
Yeah, they have.
Okay.
They have. And that's why if you want to even get papers, you have to bring this customary right and take it to the local government. The local government will not give you, then you take it to the state, then they can issue you CFO, or right of occupancy.
I've also seen a situation where you see a large expanse of land, but tell you that this belongs to a dynasty or a particular family chain. They'll say this land actually was owned by my great-great-grandfather, and then my grandfather inherited it. My father also inherited it, and it's passing through generations to generations. Can that also be revoked if nothing is done on such kind of land?
It can only be revoked when you have a project to undertake. Customary land is all over this country, whether to the west or the east or to the north. We all have our lands. There are areas, of course, that is unmanned. But even at that point, you find out that some people can have a claim on it. But what I'm trying to say in essence is that my thinking is the customary land is something that is cultural.
Okay.
Right? It's cultural. And government, therefore, tends to obey and also observe some culture in some areas. In the north, it's a bit even flexible. That when the government says they want this, there isn't too much problem. If you go to the east or to the west, the attachment to the land is much, much higher than what we have in the north. So you find out that various cultures have different approach to land matters.
Perhaps it is occasioned by the land mass, in the north that makes it a little bit flexible than what is obtainable in the southeastern part of the country.
That could be a factor, but all the same is the cultural attachment to land that is critical within this context. And so people have areas they can designate and say, this is our land, inherited from our forefathers, and they have right to that. Right? But however, if government comes in now, and that place is not developed, they cease to get authority over that land, because government will pay whatever compensation that has to be paid and then use that particular land for the benefit of all.
Oh, indeed. Well, the conversation is getting more interesting, but for time constraint, I think this is just a part one of it. We'll definitely build, on this to make it a part two. But let me still ask you, over the years, like I asked you earlier in the opener, that with the inclusion of private sector, will you say the housing deficit, the gap in housing deficit is beginning to breach gradually with the inclusion of private sector into it? And how do we improve upon this the more for the benefit of Nigerians?
Well, the inclusion of the private sector is a very good development. And with the awareness created by the Housing Development Show, AHIS, in this country and all of Africa, the private sector are taking greater interest. Having read and also been part of some of these things, makes it to be a solid direction and gives some kind of hope for the future. Okay. But as I said, in as much as they are coming to be part of these housing programs, they also have their challenges.
Indeed.
They have their challenges because in an attempt to really increase the housing stock, affordability is not there.
And that is a challenge.
And that's a great challenge. It's not that they don't want to make it affordable, but the economic situation and reality they are being confronted with is making it almost impossible for them to bring the cost of their products low for the average person to afford.
Go ahead.
If you take them and you analyze what they are passing through, you realize that in most cases they will be the people to go and make the roads, create all the infrastructure within the estate, even access to their estate.
Yeah.
They do it. They buy the land at an exorbitant price, and then cost of building materials, another issue. So there is no way they can build a house for you and me to afford. Even if what the federal government is even doing now with renewed hope homes, at the end of the day, because of the costs of materials, even the average person cannot afford it. Assuming they say it's even 5 million, who is there to afford 5 million within the structure of the civil servants today?
I don't think there is any.
You see?
So perhaps they build the houses for politicians and...
Yeah, and that is the truth. Most of the beneficiaries are the politicians or people that have gotten themselves well established in business. People that are in just medium, small scale businesses are folding up.
But we've also seen countries like Morocco, United Arab Emirates and so on, having, been able to offer houses to every citizen in the country.
Now, I told you about population.
Yes.
The population. What's the population of such countries?
Yeah.
What's our own population?
Over 200
How
million.
about the issue of income? But of course, Nigeria, we are truly richly blessed, but corruption has eaten up the money.
Yeah.
Assuming all the monies that have been stolen are being brought back into housing.
Everybody could have afforded a house. Or could have owned a house even.
I'm telling you. But of course, the other way again is rent to own. That could be another model that we need to encourage.
Owners occupier spaces?
Yes. The moment you are paying the rent, it's like you are offsetting the price.
Yes.
Then after 5-10 years, the house is yours.
And that would have been a better policy.
That should be encouraged at all levels, from the federal right down to the state.
Was it what actually Mortgage Bank, through Mortgage, was doing during Shehu Shagari's regime, where virtually the state and the federation, you could see the presence of Shagari locust housing? Yeah.
Shagari locust housing was a government-initiated project and had a complete backing, political backup or interest, to do that. It's not a private initiative, right? So Shagari did it, and you might have realized that any state that is not NPN.
Okay, as a den.
As
yes.
a den, right? The location of the Shagari locus is about 5 kilometers away
From the city.
from the city. And that has become, of course, the population growth has made up with them, but they are already shattered.
But that means, a political class and gladiators also undermine this very housing scheme, due to political distinctions, political party distinctions. And we don't have continuity in terms of policy.
That's why I said initially, I said that change in government has, stalled the progress in the housing delivery in this country. That's one. Secondly, we have not gotten enough financial backup to really proceed with this. It's normally very expensive when you deal with the issue of site and services, or service delivery, and then the issue of building. It's very, very expensive, and we have not been able to get the necessary budgetary amount to really undertake that one. So it becomes a bit complex, really a bit complex and very difficult to attain. We have a very good idea, but the third one is the corruption.
Corruption. And so what role is the Federal Minister of Housing and Urban Development, got to do in this regard?
You see, for some of us, we believe that, having known by hindsight that whatever government starts in any regime tends to end with that regime, government should think differently. And to me, creating the enabling environment is very, very key. Reducing the cost and access to land is something that can be legislated, and whatever government that comes in will still continue, and the private sector can now hinge on that, and even individuals can have access to land that is affordable, right? And they can now build their own. When that is done, I guess that it will really help tremendously. Okay. And government, as I said, I will narrate it here again, that all our cities have a very, very high percentage of slums. Yeah. And these slums are created by circumstance. It's not deliberate. It's circumstantial. Some slums are because the city grew to meet a particular village. That's right. And then that village is being, engulfed, yes, right? And at the end of the day, that village will now be seen as a slum.
Which originally it wasn't.
Which wasn't,
yes.
Right? Now, government therefore has the responsibility of integration. Plan it to synchronize with the expanding of the town.
That's right.
And give each person there a title to his own land, because you have already created infrastructure.
Yes.
That will now make the place and increase the housing stock. Going back to where it was a virgin land, nobody was there, they started and grew up to be a slum. Government should not rush into destroying. No. The best thing is have a stakeholders meeting and see what can we do. What will be your role? What will be the role of government? Then integrate them as well. We have so many of such that can be integrated. And when they're integrated, my brother, the level at which we are going to realize increase in housing stock in this country will amaze you. Will be more than any other government project that may be undertaken as housing project.
Because it's one of the basic necessities of man. Getting a place,
absolutely,
shelter is very important.
And to let you know that not everyone living in slum is that poor. There are some people that are forced to live there because they cannot afford the 5 million, 2 million per year kind of
that's
thing.
Circumstantial.
So they will just go there. A lot of civil servants are in these slum areas.
Yes.
Not by choice, but because it has been forced on them by circumstances.
Well, there is no better time to end this conversation than now. Town Planner Barnabas Atiyaye, Town and Regional Planner at NVCON STEAM Consultant. Thank you so very much for having you.
God bless you.
Amen. And you too. Like I said earlier, we will definitely have a part 2 of this conversation. This is just peripheral, but we'll definitely go deeper the next time you open your doors for us to have.
Always there for you.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God bless you.
God bless you too. All right, viewers, that's our show for today. Thank you so very much for being with us from start to finish. Join us again same time, same station as we come with a fresh edition of the program. Until then, stay safe. My name is Chris Jacobs. God bless Nigeria.